You thought you got rid of me, eh? Think again, douchebags. I'm back, baby, and I'm back with a bang. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Almond View podcast with myself, Liam Innes, my co-host, Jake Pointer.
Hello.
And a lonesome lion, Thomas Fro.
Hello.
No Owen or Povey this week. That was really... said he'd let you down a well.
Hello.
Wee Thomas down the well. No Owen or Povey this week. They couldn't handle me coming back all fired up. And you better know that I am nowhere near burning out.
On this week's episode, we'll start, as usual, by looking back this week in Livingston FC news, with yet another defeat for the men's team to discuss, and a 6-goal thriller involving the ladies' team. After that, you better bloody strap yourselves in, because we have a bumper interview with none other than Mr. Jon Guthrie himself, as he talks through his time with West Lothian's most successful football club. Oh, can you feel that? That's content flowing at my feckin' veins, boys!
Oh, that sends shivers down my spine. As Andre 3000 would say, what's cooler than being cool? Ice cold? Wrong. What's cooler than being cool? Supporting your local football club so much that you ask your stupid wee pals to start a podcast that no one listens to. That's what. Come on another journey with us here at the Almond View podcast. Paisley has given the world a lot over the years. Paolo Nutini, Paisley Patterns, Glasgow Airport, and finally St Mirren FC, who this weekend bombed along the M8 to gather probably the easiest 3 points they'll get all season. An early Ethan Errejón goal was enough to grab Saints the W at the Macarena, which means it is now just 2 wins in 20 league games for the Lions, stretching back to last season. Jake, another game that Max was at fault for the goal. Probably should have done better. We can't drop him because Bardin is currently back at Norwich due to personal reasons. The only other option is Gary Malley. What the fuck do we do? Do we just have to wait it out until January, or do we just need to get Max to buck up his ideas?
No, we should get Gary Malley in at number 1. You know what? I think we should really fuck it up and just go, let's put him in, just see how he gets on. Nah, I'm joking. That would be mental, but very, very funny. I bet it would be brilliant as well. I bet he'd play a blinder that first game back. And everyone would be like, Martindale's a genius. He's done it. He's got Malley is incredible. What a genius Martindale is. That would bring the fans back. Malley's unreal forms. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, that was a shiter. I mean, the guy's been in pretty good form. I don't know, Max, right? Because obviously, I think when you put your Livingston, your lion tinted sunglasses on, you kind of see the best parts of Max, and you're like, oh, that was quite a good save there. That wasn't. But from my pals who have watched Livy, and even just in highlights, whenever you listen to like commentary of other teams during Livingston games, they always kind of mention how shaky Max is. And I think as a Livingston fan, you're going, no, you focus in on quite a lot of his good stuff. A lot of the times he's, palming the ball back, down to himself, then collecting it. Maybe more solid keepers are just making that catch for the first time. I mean, I'm being very, very, very critical here because he has been very good, but sometimes I feel he's not that solid. But yeah, he can. He's a good shot stopper and he can make some good saves every now and then. That one, was so soft. The guy was on left. Like, I don't even know if it was his strong foot, and it was a side-footed pass through him. So I don't really know what happened. Only he would. I think we've got to persevere. At the end of the day, he can make some great saves. Hopefully, just kind of, end of the day after his mistake against Aberdeen, he bucked up his ideas and he played a great game. Hopefully he just picks himself back up again and we go again. But it's weird because Livingston have been blessed with incredible keepers for such a long
Yeah.
time. So as soon as we get a bit of a shiter, we're instantly like, and even if not actually, that's not true. A wee bit, a wee shite, just a wee jobby, a wee skitter. Sometimes we're like,
Wee
it's
ghosty.
the worst thing in the world. A wee ghost jobby of a keeper. We're thinking it's a big deal. We've been blessed, but yeah, I think persevering can only get better.
What I will say, just to counter how good Max has been now against Dundee, he was phenomenal. Probably one of the best performances for a goalkeeper I've seen for a long time.
Yep.
Celtic, though, right? He had that amazing save for, I think it was Jota who turned Fitzwater, I think it was, or Longridge, edge of the box. Brilliant save. There was a good 2 or 3 times, though, that he spilt the ball essentially on the line. And if it wasn't for Fitzwater and Obalaye being so solid that day, they were straight back into the game. So
exactly.
He's still got indeed. I think at the back of my head, I'm like, I think it's because he knows he's undroppable. At the minute, anyway, in particular.
Oh, that's a statement, by the way.
He's maybe not that he's purposely doing it, but just he knows in the back of his head. Fuck it, like
that's a point.
I can't get dropped. You've got Gary Malley on the bench. What are you going to do?
Put Malley on.
So, on the opposite end of the spectrum, Thomas, this is now 1 goal in 6 games that Livingston have scored. And it was a winning goal against Celtic. Brilliant. Goals are an issue, though. I'm going to bring them back into the discussion. We've no mentioned them for about 2 hours. Joel Nouble. Will he be the man, do you reckon, in January to come back to get the goals? Or do you think it's more of a creative spark across the whole team?
I hope he is. I hope he's the man to come back in and score goals, because, God, we need it. I think we look a bit devoid of a plan going forward. Our best chances seem to be with quick breaks and individual moments of kind of ability. A couple of the chances that we had, I'd never thought I'd see the day where Longridge skins 2 boys and puts himself through on goal, but I mean, it was unbelievable, wasn't it? And that's our chance. But that wasn't due to good attacking football or good link-up play. That was an individual moment. There was the Odin Bailey chance as well, where he cuts in. He uses his strength and his speed, and he just doesn't get the shot off right. And it was the same with Jacko as well. Like, these are individual moments. We're not dangerous with set pieces anymore. So the goal's not coming from there. Every time we get a corner or a throw in, it's like, well, we know nothing's going to come of it because we can't win a ball in the air. We're missing Big Bad Jon. So where are the goals going to come from? I think there's a few elements. Sibs is usually a very creative player for us. We're missing him. I know he was kind of playing even when we weren't scoring many goals, but I think he can kind of add that bit of quality for that final ball, or even tucking away one himself. The striker situations, crazy. Bruce Anderson looked promising early on, grabbed a goal, got the goal against Aberdeen, but just hasn't managed to fit in. And I think that's a symptom of the system that we're playing. More than anything else, I'm sure he's a good striker. If we get the ball into the box, I'm sure he'll score, but we just don't seem to be able to get to that stage. Because when he plays, we try to play the ball over his head, and it's never going to work because he's usually up against 2 or even 3 centre halves when we're playing against us at the back, which is, it just the tactics playing the ball into the channel. It's never going to work with Anderson. We need to get the ball up the park further. We need to be further up the park when we're starting these attacks, and it's just not happening. If it doesn't happen against fucking St Mirren, who's it going to happen against? Honestly. There's no flow in the team. We're I don't see what we're trying to do attacking wise. No. So that was a very long-winded answer to your question, but hopefully Nouble, the rumours are that Martindale's keen to bring him back. He seems to be keen to come back in January. If he can come in and do something, then it adds something different to what we've got at the moment. But probably, I don't know if it's a fair comparison, but more similar to a Dykes. Strong, good in the air, can run off the shoulder, he's rapid. good technically with his feet. He can create those chances like Danks did for us when we were kind of playing that longer ball over the top.
I was just going to say, I actually watched his highlights reels. If anyone listening hasn't done that, check it out. It's cool. And he does have quite a lot of similarities to Jet. Hopefully he's not, if you order Jet on Wish, you get a Nubly. But but the fast feet and the strength is definitely what we're missing. And so, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to him coming back.
As you boys will know, the listeners don't know how much work and prep goes into this. They don't know how much writing of very specific worded questions that I have. This next question is 2 words, right? Jake, I'm coming to you first, then Thomas, then I will have my say on it. Jake, Martindale out?
No.
Oh.
No, not yet. I don't want to go on too much about it. I think the main issue is that I just don't know what we would... Who would we get now that would be better, that could really change things? That's a really hard question, to be honest. I don't know if it's down to individual performances, down to system. I don't know. I just feel like I can't remember who I read it on Twitter. It might have been Chris Love. I'm talking like I know him. I've never met him in my life, but I do follow him on Twitter. Was just talking about.
He was my old manager at work.
There you go. Oh well, I follow him on Twitter. and talk about Livy stuff.
I don't think he likes me,
talking about just the ideas that not having. There was just none of that kind of plan B. There's too much. I don't know, to and fro, and too many kind of. Not enough new things being done. Would a new manager bring that in? Probably. But I just don't know who else we could replace him with yet anyway. I would say I reckon I would like to see something new. If at the end of the season we continue to be a bit shite, if we get relegated 100%, someone else. I don't know. That was a really long-winded question and also very, very woolly at the same time. I just don't know. Oh, is that Povey coming on?
Oh, here he comes. He's playing 10.
Here he is.
Hello.
Are you Rican coming on and ruining our podcast?
I just thought I would see how it was going. I've stopped at McDonald's.
A shock has appeared on the Almond View, what is this called? Discord chat, where we are now joined by Stephen Povey, our favourite positive Povey. Povey, you've come in at a perfect time. I'm asking the boys individually a 2-worded question. Martindale out?
Yeah. Martindale stepped down, I would say. So I would say that's 3 words for me. Martindale stepped down. I definitely still want him part of the club, but come on. Make way for someone else like Davy Hopkins. That's what I was thinking.
Wow.
Okay.
Listen,
right.
He's positive, Davy. But it's just getting a bit much for me now. I've lost my positive poviness the last couple of weeks. Yeah, still be part of the club. Get someone else in. That's my answer.
That's good. That's a good mix.
And just before you go, you would bring back David Hopkin, who has failed at every club he's been at since leaving Livingston. Do you think he's maybe just got a Midas touch over Livingston?
I just think he unfinished business, left on a high, but never got the flavour of, let's be honest, how glorious is the last few years been, and yeah, why not? It's not going well so far. We need something else. So why not bring in someone who knows the club, I don't know who said it. Oh no, it was what's his name on Sports Scene? Michael Stewart said on Sports Scene, Livy have lost their What did he say again? Identity. Now, who knows that Livingston identity? Hopkin knows it, you know? So that's probably what we need. That's why I think, why not? Get Hopkin in.
Well, that was enjoyable. So, Thomas, Martindale out?
Not yet. Two-worded question, two-worded answer.
I like it.
To expand on that a little bit, as I was saying before, Povey graced us with his presence. I don't see who we replace him with, at all. I don't think Hopkins the right man. Sorry, Povey. I don't think it would be a good move for the club. I think his stats since he left Livy aren't exactly fantastic. And Davey's been there the whole time as well, so he should know about the identity of the club. I think we've been blessed with marvellous players like your man Jon Guthrie, like your Halketts, your Gallaghers, your Lithgows, like your Dykeses. And that's maybe what we're not as lucky with this season. We don't have that kind of underrated quality throughout the squad.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, your man Newblay can come in and save Davies' ass. But I'm kind of on the same pathway as Jake was saying. At the end of the season, if we get relegated, or even if we just survive, if there's no improvement, then maybe that's a good time to have not a clean break, because I think Davies should be involved at the club. I think he's done a lot for the club, and I think we owe each other a lot. I think he owes us a lot, and I think he realises that, and we owe him a lot for all the work that he's done. Although apparently he's given up his carpentry duties recently with the new job that's went on offer.
Fingers crossed for old John getting that job. By
yeah, that would be the best. But yeah, I think evaluate it at the end of the season. Sometimes I think the championship might be a good laugh, might actually fucking win a game. But no, obviously I don't want us to get relegated. I don't want us to get relegated at all. But I think end of the season for me, evaluate it then. I support two teams who try or have a heritage or they try not to sack managers, or my other team doesn't like to sack managers, and I think I've got that mentality as well, because there's been a lot of chat about the other team I support sacking their manager, but that I'm not for that either. I'm not for that, despite some kind of poor results. So I think it's always like a short-term solution. It works for some people. It really works for some people, and it can change a team's fortune straight away. I don't see that happening at Livy. I don't see us turning around, and it'll be the same old story as we've had before, when we've brought in a new manager and expected massive things, and it's not really worked out, as we've seen a few times in kind of not recent history, but a bit further back. So, not yet.
Jake, do you want to do the honour?
Yes. Solium. Martindale out.
Right, so on Saturday night, I'd been at hospitality. I'd had a few. I put on the Am View Twitter. I'm not a this guy has to leave Martindale out kind of guy. On Saturday, if he turned around and said, I'm resigning as Livy manager, I'd been like, thank fuck. In my hungover state on Sunday, and my clarity over the past few days, I think that position definitely has changed. So again, I am a not yet, but a not yet that's closer to Martindale out than you and Thomas are. So I think that I'm willing, we're 8 games in, we've got 3 games left until we play every team. And it's all teams that are sort of fairly around us. We've got Dundee United, who are doing really well at the minute, but they're not unbeatable, especially at home. We've got Ross County, and we have, who's the third one? St Johnstone away, who we beat. We got 7 points off of St Johnstone last season, which is brilliant considering the season that they had.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we can pick up even 4 points from those 3 games, then I would be able to say, right, I can see something happening here, especially with Ross County and Dundee in particular being so poor at the minute. The only thing I have though, and I said this on Saturday to Thomas and Jordan Rind and my old man when we were at hospitality, you look at Dundee and you look at Ross County. Ross County have a bit of money behind them. They always have. Dundee are a big club. They would have no qualms with saying to James McPake or Malky Mackay, your time's up, away you go. They can make that change. That could, as Thomas said, sometimes it can bring positive results. Look at Livingston last season when we didn't get rid of Holt, but when Holt left and Martindale came in, it was an instant success of 14 games unbeaten. But then, on the other hand, you've got teams like Dundee that brought in Jim McIntyre a few years ago, and they were even worse under him than they were under Neil McCann. But that's the issue that I've got, is the fact that you've got two clubs that are in and around us, direct opponents this season. Looks like it's going to be a mini league of 3, and there's two clubs that would be willing to make a change, and Livingston who aren't. Because I know for a fact that Martindale has been wanted as manager since Hopkin first left. So, they've waited this long to get him in. They're not going to turn around to him, especially after the money he's put in, especially the time that he's put in. And again, I don't want rid of him completely. I think he's still got a massive role at the club, and I think he's such an asset. But in terms of management, in terms of the team, again, I think I said this on Saturday, you're looking at Malky Mackay, who's got experience down south in the Championship. He's a massive racist, right? And that is now rubbing off on Ross County fans, which is fucking hilarious and also horrifying. You've got James McPake, who doesn't really have management experience at the top, but he's got playing experience at the top, playing with Hibs and cup finals and Coventry and even Livingston the first time round. Martindale's just got nothing. Like, we were sat right behind the dugout at hospitality, and he was just shouting football terms like I do at 7-a-sides. Like, nothing what he was saying was making any sense. He was telling players to do things when it was physically impossible for them to do it. The message from the bench and the players was just, Martindale was shouting stuff at the players, and they were looking at him going, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you could see it in their face. They've no idea what they're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I just think that the organisation has just been a shambles. That 14 game unbeaten run, amazing. Cup final, amazing. Top 6 finish, amazing. But it's a bit of the Davy Hopkins that you're like, he's still got a bit of credibility. Bow out just now. Do what Holt done. Holt didn't want... He knew that there was a risk of getting relegated if he stayed in charge. He bowed out gracefully. After these next 3 games, as I said, 4 points would be amazing. 3 points, just about. But if we get any less than 3, I can't see us doing anything under Martindale at all. Mm-hmm. And I think at that point he should probably consider walking. So, long-winded again. Martindale out, not yet, but it's coming if there's not an improvement there. And I will be on board of the boo boys that, that want him out. And finally, more Livingston FC news. More of a half disappointing result as we move on to the ladies' game. It was another mixed bag for the Lionesses as they had a 3-1 advantage against league leaders Edinburgh City on Sunday. However, ended up managing to draw the game 3-3 despite goals from Ashley Fish, Rachel Walkinshaw, and an absolute stoter from Jen Dodds. Thomas, our resident ladies man, how was the game? Like, watching it, obviously great to get 3 goals, but how disappointing was it to drop those 2 extra points that could have been so sweet for the Lionesses?
It was so frustrating. They played well, to be fair. I can't fault the performance. It was solid. Like, first half, Edinburgh didn't have a sniff, and they were meant to be this quality team who are sitting top of the league right now, and Livy made them look average. I think it's the first half in particular was the best I've seen Livy play this season. They were fantastic. They moved the ball about well, created chances, and defended really well against a decent attack. A pacey attack, more threat there. But they were brilliant first half. I think the second half the tactics changed a little bit, went a little bit more defensive, and that was maybe where the kind of allowed them back into the game a little bit. That being said, Livy should have still won the game. There was two chances that stand out to me that should have been put away, and there's probably a couple more that put you either 3-0 up or 4-1 up with 10 minutes to play. And then you think you're sailing. But even at 3-1, you should still be seeing out the game. It looked a bit tired to me near the end. I don't know if they'd given it all across the first kind of 60, 70 minutes. And it was a bit tired, maybe crosses not being closed down, stuff like that. But yeah, a solid performance against a decent team, probably about as good as you're going to get in that league. But they should have taken the points, and they're going to be really disappointed because it was a big opportunity to take the points there at home as well. Because a couple of these big games and big teams that they need to play, your Renfrews, your Gutcairns, they still need to play them away from home. So that makes it tougher, obviously. So yeah, disappointed not to pick up the 3 points. Bitterly disappointed.
The positive is that they're not losing many games. I mean, the Gartcairn game aside, but that's a couple of games now that they've just not managed to get over the line. Dropping, as you said, a couple of draws at home at Renfrew and now Edinburgh City, and when they're in sort of comfortable positions and on the front foot. So what do you think is happening? Is there a mentality things, or maybe a bit too much expectation because they've come through from Blackburn to Livingston, or is there anything obvious there that is sort of missing to get over the line?
I don't know. I think on Saturday, on Sunday, sorry, there were like a couple of wee mistakes, like individual mistakes, and they happen in games. And I would make 10 times worse mistakes, so I'm not going to criticise at all. But they just need to kind of get past these little mistakes and learn to see games out. I think that's been my biggest criticism, has been the finishing this season. If they score some of their chances in these games where they've drawn, they put the games to bed, and you get a 3-4 goal advantage, and that's a lot more comfortable than a 1 or 2 goal advantage. Obviously, that's the most fucking obvious statement I've ever said. But you know what I mean? Like the finishing, they need to take the chances, and I think if the chances had been taken at some points this season, then there would be 5-6 points up, higher up the league, and they'd be like really fighting right up at the top. They're not in a bad position, especially with the way they play. If they can keep that up, then they'll be fine and hopefully kick on for promotion. But it's tough. They've made it difficult for themselves to get promoted this season because of these results at home.
To sort of finish up, do you think that Paul in particular, as the head coach, will be using these results as an example for a catalyst to sort of say, right, look at what we could have had and really start pushing on? Can you see there being a sort of big push now from now until the end of the season to really catapult themselves back up to the promotion? I mean, they're still in the promotion race, obviously, but to sort of really take control of it and take it by the scruff of the neck.
I think he's got to, because there's positive signs for sure, and I feel like I say this every week. There's positive signs for sure, and they just need to build on that. Like they're playing good football, the best football in the league, in my opinion. And out of all the teams that I've played, I've not seen a team play football like them. So when they need to take those positives and keep working on those, and they will score goals. 3 goals against the team top of the league at the weekend. Unfortunately not enough, but
yeah,
they're scoring goals against teams. They've got a cracking goal difference. So they just need to kind of keep that positivity going for 90 minutes. I think that's the hardest part, and it's tough game football. So, yeah, hopefully, I think Paul's got to kind of keep banging on that it's not all doom and gloom. Even though a couple of those draws felt like losses, you need to stay positive about it because the way that they're playing is good. They just need to, turn a corner and get 3 points every week because, unfortunately, it's just slipped out of their fingers a couple of times so far.
This next guest is a modern-day Livingston hero. He's as solid as a Carol Vorderman-branded Sudoku puzzle book and could finish anything placed in front of him. He's a goal-scoring, clean-sheeting, creative son of a gun. Ladies and gentlemen, he's big, he's bad, it's Big Bad Jon himself, Jon Guthrie!
Hey! Yes, lads. Lovely introduction, that.
Cheers, man. What a treat this is going to be, I am sure. But before we get proper stuck into your time at Livingston, we will hand over to Jake, who's going to do a quick fire quiz for you.
Yeah, so it's going to be 10 questions, John. You've just got to say the first one that comes to your head. I'm going to give you 2 options for each one. Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, first one. Bartley or Martindale?
Oh, Martindale.
Iron Brew or Fanta?
Fanta.
Livingston or Northampton?
No comment. You can't be doing that to me.
Scoring goals or last second tackles?
Scoring goals.
McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's.
Joshua or Fury?
Fury.
Fitz or Devlin?
Devlin.
Grass or Fantastic Plastic?
Fantastic Plastic.
Perfect. Pizza or pasta?
Pasta, obviously.
Oasis or Blur?
Oasis.
Solid.
God, you've chucked me straight into it there, isn't it?
That's the point, man. Straight in.
Right on the back foot already.
It'll be less intense than that from now on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to do a few questions. I'm going to pass over to Liam. So, first of all, you joined Livingston in the summer of 2019 from Walsall. You obviously spent the majority of your career in England. So, what on earth brought you to Livingston?
Nicky Devlin. To be honest, he did play a big part in it. Obviously, I was really close with Nicky over the 2 years I spent with him at Walsall. He still is one of my best mates I've made in football. And I'd had a couple offers from mainly League Two, a couple League One clubs. But to be honest, after the season, I didn't have a very good last season at Walsall. We just got relegated, so my head was gone a bit with football. Wasn't enjoying my football at all. And obviously, he had already signed up here, and he said, "Look." Talk about what I said to him about the interest from Livingston. He, said, come up, give it a go. He said good things because he had already, obviously, he had been on all pre-season and said all the lads and everything were brilliant. And it was it was probably the most exciting offer I had. All the other offers, nothing was sort of jumping out at me. And it was a complete different experience coming up to Scotland. To be honest, it was never something I'd actually thought about up until Livingston sort of came up. So it was just what I found the most exciting offer. Obviously, Nicky being here did play a big part in it. Like I said, I was really close with him and he had said good things about it. Yeah, and just, after speaking to Holty and Davey about it, the excitement of it all was just big. Obviously the draw of the Celtic and the Rangers games were big in that. I was thinking I'm never going to get a chance playing games like that, especially in League One and Two. You don't get games like that down there. So pretty much just it was probably the most exciting offer I had that summer.
So we need you to be honest here, right? So what was your perception of Scottish football before you joined Livy? And were you ever one of those like, oh, my nan could play Scottish football, it's shite. Be honest here.
Well, I'm lucky. I've known quite a few boys who have come up here in the past, to be fair, and they've always spoke highly of it. But I didn't have a clue what to expect. It was probably part of me. There is definitely an arrogance down here in England about what the Scottish League is like, massively. And I probably myself would have thought that, but until you go up there and experience, like for me now, when I speak to like my mates, I tell all of them, if you get the chance to definitely do it. It's a great league. Well, this is what I'm saying to like my mates who are like, obviously if you're playing Championship or Premiership football down there, obviously it's top football, but for the lads who are like playing League 1 and 2, I don't know. There is definitely an arrogance between a lot of them thinking, "Oh, I wouldn't want to go up there," but it's definitely better for me up in Scotland. Yeah, there definitely is an arrogance down here about it, but it surprised me. It was the standard was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. To be fair, a lot better.
What would you say was kind of the main things that when you did come up and started playing Scottish football, the difference between that League One English level and Scottish football? Would you say for you?
I'd say quite a lot of things. It's definitely, I'd say it's more physical and the pace of the game's a lot quicker. It took me
Is it?
Yeah, for me it was. Yeah, it took me a couple. Maybe that's just because I was part of a rubbish Warsaw team, to be fair. But, the pace of the game and everything, it took me a couple of games to get used to it. It was really frantic, end to end. Some games, the first couple of games, I didn't know what was going on. The balls flying everywhere. Guys are shouting at me. I don't know what they're speaking. I couldn't understand the accent. I didn't know what was going on. But even like the technical side of it. Technically, I think boys up here are a lot better than they get credit for. Definitely compared to League 1 and 2, the teams and players, they're definitely technically better than down there, I'd say.
So your first game for Livingston came in an away game at Ross County, and after just 3 minutes, you got your head onto the end of a delicate Keegan Jacobs cross to put the Lions ahead. Could you believe what a start he had? It's an absolute dream, isn't it?
Yeah, no, not really, to be fair, because up until I came up to Livingston as well, my goal scoring record was terrible. I used to miss so many chances. So, to score that. Now you've mentioned it, I'm trying to think, what was Keegs doing on a free kick, by the way? At the time, I wouldn't know, but I think back now, how's Keegs on free kicks?
Mate, we want Keegs back on free kicks.
Oh, what a
swear
legend.
to God, we're like when Sibs is away, we are struggling with balls in the box. It's been mental this year. Yes, we'd honestly, I'd take a Keegan Jacobs free kick all day long. We can all agreement now.
but yeah, no, it was obviously a great start. Even to just get that first. I remember we battered him first off, didn't we? I think it was 3-1 at half time or something, was it? Something like that. I remember Dykesy had him on toast. So it was a great start to my Livingston career. Yeah, I loved it.
So we're recording this on the 6th of October 2021, which means that on this day 2 years ago, Livingston recorded their first ever victory against Celtic, and you obviously played a massive part in that. Did you know of Livingston's dreadful record against Celtic before the game, or?
Yeah, I did before. Obviously, coming up, I didn't have a clue, but it was something spoke about. The staff, particularly Dave Lee, he spoke about making ourselves sort of history makes, if you will, to be the first team to beat Celtic. And obviously this was my first experience against playing Celtic. So, you go into the game, obviously they're a top teams. You're thinking, wasn't really sure I would get on. But that day, it was funny. I was actually speaking with Robbie Crawford earlier. Messaging him earlier about his little pass for Robbo. Literally a couple of hours ago. That day I still speak to some of the other players about it today, and it was definitely, even in my whole career, one of the best days of my career that day.
Yeah, so it was just great, just kind of knowing that you'll forever be a part of the club's history now about that game. Yeah,
definitely. Like I said, Davey, he said, we can make history in this game, and obviously we were lucky enough to do it. Great performance, we found great couple goals. To know just little things like that, even like I saw earlier, like a little tweet earlier from, I think it was the SPFL, saying like the first time in the history, just seeing little things like that, it's amazing. It's something we definitely look back after your career and something we should all be proud of.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, us as fans watching it, that was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that they had literally 3/4 of the stadium as well, and it went so quiet. Oh, it was brilliant. What a day. So after the win against Celtic, the team failed to win their next 8 games, picking up just 4 points out of 24. However, in the time, the team picked up impressive draws, and particularly against Hearts and Hibs away. Can you remember what the form was kind of down to? And did those performances against the Edinburgh teams give the team the belief that ended up catapulting the team up the league in the next couple of months?
It's funny, you just said, I didn't know it was that long without a win after that game. I never really, trying to think back to that time, I never felt like we were on that bad a run, to be honest. Like you said, we had some good draw. Obviously, the Hibs away, they conceded. We conceded right at the end. That was gutting.
We were there. That was. Was that? Am I right in saying was that the Scott Tiffany open
Yes.
one-on-one
Oh
game?
my God.
I don't think we've ever forgiven him for that.
Oh,
What was the changing room like for that? Please, let us. That must have been. We were horrible to him. Like,
Oh, yeah, horrible. I still speak to Tiff a lot now. To be fair, and I still am. But yeah, no, that was horrible. Just like you said, Tiff, and then to concede that late. Because that was another. I think that was spoken about before. Obviously, it had been a long time since Livingston have won it. Hibs as well, I think it was. So, to know we were that close to it was horrible. But, even on that run, like I said, I didn't ever feel like... I didn't realise it was that long, to be honest. I didn't ever feel like, because I feel like we were still picking up, like you said, up good points here and there.
Yeah.
And it was just, to be honest, I could tell we had such a good team. I looked at the players. Obviously, I didn't know what other teams around because it was a new league for me, but I looked at the players we had in our squad and I knew we had top players. So we were all pretty confident as a squad. Probably not as confident. I'm not saying we knew we were going to come and go on the run and finish top 6. I'm not saying that, but we always knew we were going to pick up results at some point.
So December 2019 was really Jon Guthrie month, with the team getting their first win in 2 months against Kilmarnock, with yourself opening the scoring. You then got another goal a week later away to St Mirren in a 3-3 draw. And finally, on the 29th of December, you scored a brace against Hibs at the Macarena. What happened in December? And did Davy and Gary change anything in particular, or was it just like kind of luck of the draw, or what was happening?
I love Christmas. I get real excited about it.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, to be honest. It seemed to. I've had it recently, a couple down here in the last month, where things just sort of when you get one, things just seem to sort of land towards you. And we obviously, particularly at Livingston, sort of we were a big threat from set pieces, and we had good people taking set pieces, and we chucked the ball in pretty much any opportunity we got because we knew we were good at them. So I knew we were going to get chances, but it did feel like, I remember that month, it just felt like things were just landing for me. Probably wasn't changing anything that I've been doing in the previous months. Just the ball. I sort of try and tell myself, just if I constantly make the same run, the ball will eventually come to me. And that month that month it just
kept coming.
Anthony, it was a good month. I remember it.
That's class. So the double against Hibs, the second goal was a peach of a header, but the first was possibly one of the scrappiest goals known to man, with about 4 players appearing to claim it as their own. What was your opinion on it?
Oh, it's mine all day. I think I just ran off quicker than anyone else. They gave it to me. To be honest, still don't really think it was my goal, but I'm keeping it with me. Yeah, it was the scrappiest. I think Lammy had a swing at it. Stiv then had a swing at it. I had a swing at it. I think it ended up, to be honest, I think it was an own goal from them, if I remember correctly. But,
Probably.
But I'm still claiming it.
That's good. I would do the exact same. So after the winter break, the club continued to good form, and there was another very decent result for the Lions against Celtic on the 4th of March in a 2-2 draw, with Livy being literally seconds away from their second ever win against Celtic. You scored the first goal to equalise, notching up your 5th goal of the season. What was the feeling after the game, knowing that you had to come so close to something so remarkable again in the same season?
Yeah, I remember being in the change room straight away. It was weird because you've just got a point against Celtic. I mean, you take it, but it was hard. It was quiet. I can't remember who said it. It might have been Davey or something, or it might have been Marv or someone said, like, lads, we need to remember. Obviously, we need to remember what we've just done. We've got a point against Celtic. Obviously, it was down because you're that close to winning. It does hurt. Yeah. It's more the next couple of days you'll take it in and realise, to be fair, you've got a point against Celtic, it's good. It's just at the time when you're that close, there's nothing worse than football conceding that late, and especially when against a team like Celtic, it would have been such a big moment for the club. It was hard, straight away after the game. So
then after the Celtic game, the Lions travelled to St Johnstone in what would be their last game this season, as the whole world began to shut down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. At what point did you start hearing rumours of the shutdown, and was there any point that you thought that this would actually happen?
No. So I remember I think it was the day before or like the morning of, I had a lot of my mates in England were saying our league stopping. They've been sent home from training and everything, but I think we were it was either later in the day or a day late for some reason. So I was saying, I don't really know what's going on up here. Mm-hmm. I remember we were out on training. We were out on the training pitch. I think we had Hearts on the Sunday, I think, or something like that. So we were out training, and then I can't remember, it came out. It might have been the physio, Andy, or someone came in and said, lads, the game's been postponed for Sunday. They're not playing fixtures. So I was thinking, I didn't expect games to actually be cancelled. And then even then, we've gone inside and had a meeting about it. Horty and Davies said, we've no idea how this is going on, so we don't really, like myself obviously being from England, he was like, I don't really want you going home back to England because we could be back in next week playing games again. We had no idea. So I wasn't thinking, this is going to be a long-term thing. We thought, this game's been cancelled, might shut down for a couple of weeks maximum. So I actually stayed in Scotland for a couple of weeks because I was thinking we're going to be back in training soon. I had no idea it was going to be as long as it was, and I never imagined like the season would have been stopped like it was.
So Livingston finished 5th that season, but if the season hadn't been curtailed, do you reckon the team would have kind of been on a hunt for Europe? Was it ever kind of spoken about, or?
It was, yeah. We didn't like to speak about it from the staff, but as players, we about it. They'd say, keep your feet grounded. But I think it was within our reach, definitely. Looking at the squad we had, the games, we were so confident. In my both years there, but particularly at that time, we were so confident. It's easy to say now, but I think we would have had a right good chance of getting it, to be honest.
After many months, obviously, of uncertainty because of the pandemic, mental rumours flying about. We had Hearts fans crying on national TV because they were relegated and stuff like that. It was quite funny, but it was announced that football would finally be returning with a full Premiership season starting on August 1st. As a professional footballer, how class was it hearing that you were going to be back at training after so long? And was there any anxiety or reservations on your side about actually returning?
Not for myself personally, there wasn't any at all. I wasn't worried about going back or anything like that. The club, even before we come back in, the club told us like all the new protocols that we'd have to take around the training ground, and it was as safe as it was going to be. But even then, for me, this is just me personally, I don't know what other boy, but I was never that concerned about returning or anything like that. I was just buzzing to get back in. Those couple months off, obviously the first week or so, you don't mind. You thought, this is nice, bit of time off. But no, the longer it went on, it was hard. I was able to get back to England for a little bit, for literally a week or two. But my missus, her job up in Scotland, they'd worked throughout the whole pandemic, so she obviously was back up there. Didn't fancy leaving up here, as I was the reason she was up there in the first place. So I was in a flat, just by myself a lot of time because obviously still working. I was out doing as much exercise as I could, trying to keep fit, but it was hard, to be honest. It was head loss. It was just the unknown of not knowing when we were going back was the hard part. If we had sort of a date to work to, it would have been fine, but we were just doing all this running and trying to keep fit, but we had no idea when we were going to be going back in or whatever. So it was hard. So no, just when we got told we're going to be back, even it's mad because we were getting told we'll come back in pre-season, and normally pre-season for me is my worst nightmare. I hate that. Some players don't mind it, but I hate it. But even the thought of just going back in for pre-season, I was buzzing just to see all the boys and everything. It was great to go back in.
See, in terms of the protocols and stuff, I remember at the start of the season there was like a big thing about a bunch of Aberdeen players were spotted in a pub and then they got COVID and stuff like that. In terms of like personal life for the club, obviously things were opening up a wee bit at that point and then they got locked down again, but were the club telling the players like, be careful, I know it's only Livingston, we've only got 1,000 season ticket holders or whatever, but were the club like, just make sure that if you're out, keep your head down, if you get COVID or whatever, make sure that it's not plastered all over social media or whatever?
Yeah, it wasn't even like, it was like if you're doing stuff, the club pretty much, they didn't obviously ban us from going out, but the club was pretty set on what they want. They said, look lads, don't basically don't go out. They didn't want us going out, especially after the Aberdeen thing, how it made the club look. We didn't want to make the club look bad, so they pretty much said, lads, unless you have to, obviously there's only so much they can do. Obviously when we get home, it's up to us what we do, but they were pretty firm on what they wanted us to do, which from my knowledge anyway, from me and the boys, we all did it pretty properly. I kept myself to myself. We only went out when we really had to. There wasn't any, like you said, you've seen the Aberdeen boys, they all went to the pub. We didn't have any like team activity. We weren't doing stuff. We weren't going to the pub or anything like that. Just because at that point, is we had just got the season back. We were thinking, imagine we, were the ones to, get the league shut down again or whatever. We didn't want to be to do that. So we, as a club, we shut up shop really. We're going for training, and then most of the boys would just go home.
The start to the season was a pretty slow start from Livingston in the league anyway. But of course, when you need a big result, you need a big player to step up. And boy, oh boy, Big Bad Jon stepped up with a goal, 1-0 win against Ross County on the 29th of August 2020. How did it feel to be back amongst the goals so quickly that season and to get a winning goal? Started.
Yeah, it was nice because I was getting a lot of boys, especially Nicky, because he'd seen my finishing at Walsall. It was a one-season wonder. Luke won't be able to do it again, so that shut him up at least. But no, it was an important win because, like you said, we'd started the season crap, and to be honest, like individually as well, I had started the season really badly. The first couple of games, I knew about it as well. Davey told me on numerous times how badly I started, so I knew I had to start getting it right. So to get that win, like I said, a goal, a clean sheet, a win, it was. Yeah, I can't ask for many days better than that. But I remember thinking that was an important win. It always is. The first win of the season is so important. I think you've seen like this year with how Livingston have started this year. Obviously they probably weren't expecting to get it against Celtic, but just to get that first win under your belt, it's so important. So I remember thinking that was a big performance from us. Yeah,
I mean the form started to turn a bit. With a couple of great wins against St Johnstone, and in particular a game at Tannadice that you scored in an important equaliser. But in the November of 2020, after losing 1-0 at home to St Mirren, Gary Holt had announced that he resigned as Livingston manager. I mean, as fans, we were all gutted because he was such a great manager for Livingston. But
yeah,
how was it for the players? Like, was it a major shock, or was there any inkling that this was coming?
No, I had no idea. We just come into training. They said, we're having a meeting. We just presumed it would be analysis like we do every Monday. So we've gone in there, and obviously Holty's come in, told the boys he was leaving. So just massive shock more than anything. Didn't expect. I knew that form-wise weren't doing great, weren't in a great place, performance-wise and result-wise. But to be honest, it hadn't even crossed my mind, him leaving. So now it was a massive shock to all of us, to be fair.
It took me a few days to get over that, like, I'm not going to lie. It was a big shock. But after Holt's resignation, the club went through probably one of the most mental periods they've ever had between December and February under David Martindale, winning 7 league games in a row. Something I don't think even happened in the glory year of us finishing third in the league. So what was it that changed? Was there a bit of a weight lifted, or was the fact that you knew David already, was that a major help in just sort of relaxing the squad and getting ready for these league games?
I think so, yeah. Because it's funny, like everyone, I remember doing an interview at the time, and everyone say, what's the magic touch? What's changed? And to be honest, like in terms of what we were doing day to day, not a lot had changed really. Like you said, obviously we all knew Davey because he had a big part in what we were doing anyway. It was an easy transition in that sense, and everyone respected him and got on with him really well. But in terms of what we were actually doing differently, I still don't know, to be honest. Like what, because it was such a drastic change in our, well, not even just the results but performance as well. I remember his first guy, I think it was Ayr in the cup, and we got a good 3, I think it was 3 or 4. So, it was a great start, getting goals and performance like that. You get confidence from that. And we were able to take that forward. And it just went on from there. I mean, that time, obviously I've never experienced anything like that in my career. I probably won't go on a run like that again in my career. Not many teams do, especially at sort of level we play at. It was just weird. I remember going into game, we literally felt invincible. Like it didn't matter who we were playing. I remember thinking we were never going to concede. I just felt like, we were going to keep a clean sheet. So if we score a goal, the minute we scored a goal, in my side, I'd be like, the game's done for us. Obviously, that wasn't the case. We did concede a couple, but you just get that aura about you as a team. And yeah, just from obviously Davey did play a massive part in it, because he obviously changed a few things. He had a couple of different tweaks which he wanted to try his own stuff, but I wouldn't say there was any massive drastic changes, but whatever he was doing, it seemed to be working, so we were just going along with it.
No, honestly, absolutely insane. But obviously during that period there was off the field, in terms of David Martindale's whole fit and proper person test with the SFA and SPFL, like, was it disappointing seeing someone that you'd worked with so closely for 2 years at that point having to go through this vigorous process just to get a job that he's already proven that he could do?
Yeah, it all felt a bit ridiculous to me. Like you said, I had an amazing relationship with David. Still do. I still spoke to him this season. So it was someone as a manager, I was probably closest with in my whole career. Just to see him go through all that, some of the press and stuff, you question him and you're thinking, just didn't make any. As players, we did speak about it a bit. As a club, it's like we didn't really speak about it as a club, but as players, obviously, we spoke about it in the change rooms or whatever, and it was just a bit of nonsense to us, really. We never thought like, oh, he's not going to pass it. We were saying surely they couldn't take it away from him now. He's gone on this run. He's proved, like, obviously everyone knows this story, how much he's changed, reformed character, and he had already done the job up to this point. So as players, we were thinking surely they couldn't now take it away from him. So we were never worried really that he was going to fail it, which to us it was just a bit of, a lot of press for something that didn't need to be, it made into a bigger deal than it needed to be in our heads anyway.
I mean, for a small club like Livingston, it's probably the most press that I had ever seen. Like you were picking up a newspaper every day, and Livingston were on the front page of some of them, saying, like with Davy Martindale's face on them. So even in terms of like going about the stadium and sort of like coming into your work, or maybe not into the stadium, because I imagine that there wasn't much press actually allowed there, but in terms of you guys, were you noticing that you were doing a lot more interviews and a lot more requests were coming in for interviews and stuff? Yeah,
definitely. There was, like you said, a lot more. We were doing a lot more press, and during these interviews, it was 90% of the questions are about Davey and his past, rather than who we're playing or what. Literally, we weren't speaking about football in these interviews. And Dale, the media guy, he would warn us and say, look, you're just going to have to say blah blah blah. Well, to be fair, we're just saying what we felt, and it's not really our place to say on that. We were there to talk about football, but none of the interviews ended up being about interviews. And yeah, like you said, the amount of interviews we were doing was more. It was funny, like it was massive. I mean, even my mates from back home, not even my mates who play football, just like my regular schoolmates, and they were asking me about it. Everyone knew about it. It was a massive story, and it's just, I know I never really had a lot to say to anyone about it. I said, because most people, particularly everyone knew about Davey's story anyway. So I just said, there wasn't a lot for me to say on it, but it was crazy, to be fair. And obviously going on that run, obviously there was big press on that, but a lot of it probably might have been overshadowed by what was going on with Davey as well, which was a shame. Yeah,
so touching back on that unbeatable run, we obviously had an amazing run to the League Cup final, booking our place in the final with a 1-0 win at Hampden against St Mirren. How did that feel, sort of stepping out on the field to, as much as I can imagine it would have been rubbish, an empty Hampden Park? Not that I can imagine that St Mirren v Livingston would have brought many supporters through, but like walking out to Hampden in a semi-final, how was that feeling for you?
Yeah, like it was definitely highlight of my career up to that point. Definitely, it's something to go just being the semi-final of a major tournament. Was obviously, because when in England you don't really obviously get the chance. You've got the Johnson, it's called the Papa John's Trophy now. You've got that, but less said on that the better. But all the other cups, you don't really get the opportunity to go further in the cups, because obviously you're playing against better teams. So it wasn't something I thought about going up on a cup run. But when going up there, speaking to the boys, I think the first year we lost to Rangers. I think that was in the quarters. I think it was my first year. So then it was something we spoke about at the start of the season. We said, look, just keep trying to improve. If we can go on in the league, and then if we can go on a cup run, it'd be amazing. So to get to a semi-final, like I said, at Hampden, to play there was amazing. Obviously, like you said about the fans, it was a bit, because obviously it was the biggest game of my career, and I had none of my family or friends there, and all the fans. It was a massive shame. Because realistically, I mean, you don't know. Wow, now I'm back in England. If you get a chance to play in a game like that again, you just don't know. So in terms of that, it was gutting. But yeah, no, to just turn up at the stadium, the magnitude of the game, walking out the tunnel, just knowing, you know, we could get ourselves into a final was unbelievable. And yeah, that was an amazing day. I loved every minute of that day.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the final didn't go our way, losing 1-0 to St Johnstone. But what were on a footballing level, like, what are your thoughts on the final itself in terms of performance of the team? Like, do you think maybe the coaching staff overthought the tactics on the day? And even something as stupid as like the team not travelling on a bus together, that maybe have like an impact. Obviously, I know the reasons why, but
yeah, I
did it sort of lose that cup final feeling a bit?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, look, I mean, it's easy to say it now. Obviously, we'd been doing the same thing all season, and it had been working. So I get why it wasn't done. But you know, such a big occasion. The travelling thing was a bit odd. A couple have said at the time, you go into a final, you want to turn up together. It's such a big game. But in terms of the game, yeah, it was so frustrating. Just obviously you can take losing games. Obviously, there's got to be a loser, but our performance on the day was so bad. You know, it was something we were all looking forward to so much. We knew as players, obviously a couple of players had played in cup finals before, but there wasn't many. We knew how big it was for ourselves, the club. So to perform the way we did, it still pisses me off now thinking about it, to be fair, especially, you know, the way we've lost. And even the goal, I think back, it was Rooney. I was marking Rooney from the corner they scored on, so I was absolutely gutted. And all game I was thinking, nah, someone just get me out of the shit. Just someone score a goal. Surely can't lose it that way. So to lose it that way, and like I said, the performance, I would never question Davey on, like, he picked the team, he was manager, he took us on a run, so we can't question it. It surprised me that Sibs didn't play. It's the only thing I'd say, because for me, Sibs is was throughout my time. I think Sibs is a bit underrated, to be fair. He's one of the best players I've played with. Not just at Livingston, at all teams. So again, it's so easy to say that if we won the game, no one would have even questioned it, and it would have been a great decision. So you can look at it both ways. Just more as a team, performance wise, we just didn't perform on the day, which was devastating.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, yeah, we had like a sort of similar thing we've played Celtic recently. The game we won, we played a midfielder up top, and before the game, everyone's saying this is stupid. What are we doing? We win the game, and he's a tactical genius again, sort of thing. So, it's one of those. Like, on reflection, though, the cup final, like, as supporters as well, like, if someone had said to me that Livingston were getting to a cup final ever again, I would have laughed in their face. So, I mean, the fact that I'm sure that every Livy fan is just so appreciative or so grateful for a team that actually managed to even get us that close again. So, yeah, I wouldn't beat yourself up too much about it. Like.
No, I know. Just when you get there, you think you've got that far, and just like I said, a lot of it was just how we performed as well as a team. We just didn't perform on that day, which was really frustrating. But it's one of those things, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, the team's fortunes really sort of drastically changed after. Well, it was actually after a league game against St Johnstone, and we only recorded one win in the last 12 league games, but. Do you think maybe part of that reason was, you said earlier that when we were going through that unbeaten run, that you literally thought as soon as we scored, that's us, we're winning. How was it sort of dealing with the fact that when the form started turning and it just looked as if no matter what, no matter how we performed, no matter how we done, if we'd scored first or whatever, like, we were just constantly losing or dropping points? Like, how was it sort of dealing with that side of it?
Yeah, it was tough because you know we kept saying, look, lads, we know how well we can perform, we've done it so far, we need to get back winning. But you know, the longer it goes on, the harder it gets, and it was a bit like it's momentum so big. Like the way we went on our winning run, the momentum was fine, everything was landing our way, everything was going right, and this side of the run, it sort of felt the other way. No matter what we did, which wouldn't be able to, like, obviously we weren't in the greatest of form, but even though there was a few games in there where we genuinely played well, but you're still losing games. It's a horrible feeling. We kept just saying, let's stick to it, it'll turn, and it didn't ever really turn for us. I think, to be fair, after the final, I think that definitely, had an effect on us, particularly for a few games. It took us a while probably to get without knowing. You as players, you say, all right, it's done now, let's move on. There's nothing you can do. But I think back of your heads, without even knowing, it probably affected us a bit more than we probably even knew ourselves. But then, just that run was hard, trying to pick ourselves every week. I mean, ultimately, we still finished in the top six. And obviously, the games, once you get into the top half, they're all tough games. So you're probably not expected to pick up as many wins as you can. So but while you're in that moment, it is hard, and it was a tough period.
Yeah, I mean, again, like as I said about the cup final, like to get top six 2 seasons in a row for a team like Livingston is just mental.
It's funny. Like, going up there, I wouldn't have even, like, I didn't really know what to expect, but I wouldn't have realised, like, the first season we finished top six, that's decent, but like going into my second season, I knew a bit more about the club, the league, where the club had come from, in terms of the league. And now I think back now, the fact that we actually got back-to-back top six, like, as a club is genuinely baffling, really. Like, it's actually mental. You do get the odd season where a team might get into the top six, but that's what we spoke about a lot. The second back is making sure people know that wasn't a fluke, backing it up with another season. And to have another top six season, I don't think it should be taken for granted, really.
No, not at all. So, sort of, there's another couple of questions just before we wrap up, but I've mentioned it a few times, and we mention it pretty much weekly on the podcast, that Livingston do not have many supporters. But in saying that, the limited supporters that they do have, they're very loyal. They know everything about Livingston. Obviously, you had, the majority of one season in front of fans, and then the whole of last season without fans, reaching top six again. Brilliant wins draws against Celtic in particular. How frustrating was it sort of now leaving and not being able to get the proper send-off from the small but very appreciative Livingston support?
Yeah, no, obviously, like you said, we don't have the biggest fan base, but I mean, I always say to lads, you'd rather have a small fan base and them actually back here rather than some of these teams. They got bigger fan bases, but the minute something goes wrong, there's moans, groans, boos. We never, especially my time, we never really had that at Livingston. Even in games, I remember there's games we lost at home to Hamilton. Fans never turn on us or anything like that. They'd always back us, cut us off, which obviously at other clubs isn't always the same. So, in terms of that, you'd much rather a smaller fan base, if like Livingston fans are, if they're going to back you. They were brilliant with us. Obviously, didn't play in front of them the second season, but even just like you get a feeling of it online. They never turn on us, which a lot of clubs ever would. So you'd much rather a smaller fan base if they're going to be proper fans and back you like we did. But yeah, in terms of the second season without fans, it was crap, to be honest. Never really. Some say, "Oh, you get used to it," but luckily for us as a club, obviously we had a good season, getting to the cup final, top six. But even then, the enjoyment factor of it was lacking massively. Especially I remember the first few games of the season. It was obviously we'd had friendlies and stuff, but these were our first league games, and walking out of the tunnel for the first couple of games, trying. Obviously, you've got self motivation you want to do, but getting yourself up for a game compared to when you've got fans there, it was crazy. It's definitely something myself it took some getting used to. And yeah, like you said, not being able to play in front of the fans again before I left, one of them things, nothing I can do now, but it's definitely something I would have changed what I could. I was gutted not to have, like you said, a proper send-off, see all the fans, because, the 2 years there, like I said, they weren't there, but I was getting a lot of still lovely stuff online, Twitter and everything. So, and obviously the backing we had, myself individually as well, the fans were always great with me, took to me straight away. So to not have a proper goodbye send off, whatever, wasn't nice. But hopefully I'll be able to get back up at some point and come watch the boys and see everyone again.
No, amazing. If you do come, give us a shout, man. And a couple of final questions. First off, right, you mentioned it before, and obviously you said you got a lot of stick off Nicky Devlin for it, but from 2012 to 2019, you scored 4 goals in 238 games, right? For a centre-half, personally, I don't think that's that bad. You don't expect a centre-half to score. But in 76 games for Livingston, you scored 11 goals alone.
Yeah.
How on earth did you manage that? What changed? And on top of that, what was your favourite or best goal for Livingston?
Oh, I have to think on that and come back to that. Yeah, to be honest, I still don't know where the goals came from. Like you said, going up there, to be honest, like I said, the amount of chances I used to get was frightening now. I used to miss so many chances. The boys would batter me for years. So going up there, I genuinely still don't know what happened. Like I said, we did have a lot of set pieces we'd work on. There was something as a club we were good at, so we did spend a lot of time with it on training. We knew we had boys who were good at set pieces. But yeah, like I said, I swear the ball just kept landing to me half the time. So yeah, it was something I didn't really expect. And then, like I said, I had that first team where I scored a few, and then particularly Nicky, he's always on me anyway. But he was saying, "Oh, there's no chance you're doing that again." So then to back it up with another season where I managed to get a few was a nice feeling. And then I've managed to sort of carry that on for this season. So I don't really, like I said, I don't really know how I'm doing it. I'm just shutting my eyes and open for the best, and it seems to be paying off. But in terms of a favourite goal, I think it's hard to score against Celtic was big, especially it was on TV. All my family were watching, obviously back home, all my mates back home. So to score against Celtic was big. Trying to think. To be fair, the second goal against Hibs as well, I enjoyed that. Good ball in, good header. But I think I'd have to go for the. I mean, to be honest, when you say best goal, let's be honest, none of them are that great. They're all either a header 4 yards out or a 2-yard tap-in. So I can't really claim any of them are the best goals, but Celtic was probably my favourite, yeah.
Nah, man, I have to say, I've got one written down here. Dundee United away last season.
I'll tell you, actually, yeah, that was actually a good finish. I just don't like bringing that up because Marv was involved in it. I don't want to give him any credit. But yeah, thinking about it, actually, that was probably my best finish, to be fair. Good little finish, yeah. Enjoyed that one, but again, no fans there, so it just takes it out a bit. But yeah, that was a good finish.
Man, even on Twitter, obviously, a lot of Northampton stuff comes up on our Twitter now that you play for them, and the goal that you scored against Newport recently, fucking hell.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from either. Again, shut your eyes, hit it as hard as you can, and hope it hits the net. Yeah, that was actually a decent finish, to be fair. Bit of whip on it. That's, to be fair, in my whole career, that's probably the best goal I've scored. And it was only about 5 yards out. But I'll take it.
Man, it was honestly thunderbolt. Right, so last question. I prepped you for it. Your dream Livy 5-a-side made up of your
honestly,
picks.
I swear, today was my day off and you've ruined it because I've been stressing about this all day. Honestly, I've not been able to eat. I can't stop thinking about it. And even now, I've changed my mind about 100 times. Do I have to have a goalkeeper?
No.
No. Yeah, there's been a couple that haven't had a goalie, so that's completely up to you.
I feel like originally I had big Matty Sarkic in. I thought he was. You could tell miss him so much. Yeah, you could tell he was going to be a top keeper, and obviously he's playing week in week out in the champ now, and who knows where he'll end up. Yeah, but unfortunately for him, I've actually got rid of him anyway because I'm not.
Honourable mention though. Honourable mention,
but you're not quite made up. So at the back, I've had to go with my mate Nicky Devlin just because he's the most aggressive man. If I didn't put him in, I'd be getting all sorts from him.
Would not expect that for him.
He's the angriest bloke I've ever met.
Is he?
Yeah, he's hot. He's the most aggressive man you have. He's actually, I don't actually know why I like him. He's actually horrible thinking about it. Yeah, honestly, he is the angriest man you'll ever meet. So Nicky, but yeah, again, like he's actually a top player. Nicky, one like in terms of fullbacks, probably the best I've played with. He's so quick and yeah, he's got everything. Nicky, so Nicky will be there definitely. I'd have him in there. I'd have to. I hate saying it, but I'd have to put Marv in there as well. As long as hopefully we'll keep this quiet. Hopefully he doesn't hear that. But no, in terms of what he brought to us as a team, particularly in that first half, I don't think there was many players in the whole league better than what he did. And not even just on the pitch, in terms of leadership and everything, he was so important to what we were. Mm-hmm. So I'd have Big Marv in there, definitely a top player. This is where I get. I had 3 bankers. So then I had Dykesy up top.
Nice.
Again, I had to put him in there. He's probably one of the best I've played with. For me, he had everything: rapid, good finisher, strong, so aggressive, and obviously he's kicked on now. He's doing really well at QPR and obviously the national team for Scotland. So Dykesy would definitely be in there. This is where it gets awkward for me because there's a few boys that would be upset with me here because my formation's gone out the window. I'm only having Nicky at the back and then I'm just going for it.
Yeah.
So then I was thinking I can't not put Pitts in there, can I? Absolute Livy legend.
Nah, he would
not stop running as well. He would just be non-stop.
To be fair, we used to do a lot of five-a-sides in training, and Pitts was. We used to change cap. If I was Pitts, would always be my first pick. Non-stop running, goals. Yeah, Pitts. Yeah, I think he's loved as much as he should be. But all the fans love him, obviously, and he deserves that. An absolute legend. So I'd have Pitts in there, but then my 5th choice was a nightmare. I changed it so many times. I've been panicking about it. I was honestly considering not coming on the podcast at one point. but in the end, I'll go Sibs as well. I think Sibs.
It's got to be.
So Sibs is such a good player. Like in terms of, he's got again another player for me. He's got everything. He's feet technically brilliant, really strong. Just a great player all round. Obviously out injured at the minute, which is not good for Livingston. I think he'd be a big player when he comes back. When he's fit and healthy.
Yeah, we miss him a lot. We really need him back.
Yeah,
I don't think he's not underrated in terms of like Livingston, but see in the league as a whole.
Yeah, definitely.
I really have I love the fact that he does play for us, but I have no idea how he's at Livingston.
Yeah,
he shouldn't be at Livingston.
Will be soon. Thank you. I think he'll leave next season. I
really
hopefully not. Hopefully, I know he really likes it there, so hopefully he stays. But Sibs was top player. Sibs, to be fair, I'm trying to even. Is that 5 players? I'm trying to think. What did I say? Nicky, Marv, Lyndon, Pitts, and Sibs. Yeah,
that's some 5 team like.
I say that though, honestly, in terms of 5-a-side, Marv is the worst I've ever played with in my career.
Really?
The worst 5-a-side player you'll ever see. He fancies himself as a striker, so he goes and sits up front and he can't score anything. So he's lucky he's good on a full-size pitch of 11 lads, but in terms of 5-a-side, terrible.
Sorry, I know we're taking up too much of your time, but what was J. Emmanuel Thomas like?
Yeah.
I can just imagine that he would never turn up to training and then just play amazing on a Saturday.
Oh no, Big Jet, he was class, to be fair. He loved it. Yeah, he was a great lad, so funny. Like in terms of football-wise, like
frightening.
Technically the best I've ever played with. Like technically he's frightening his feet in that. So to be fair, I remember I used to play against him when he was at Bristol City and I was at Crewe. I used to play against him. And the year they went up, and he was so good. Like back then, obviously he's still now technically, but he was he's put on a bit, let's say now. But back then he could move as well, and he was frightening. But even now, he like technically and stuff, his feet and his finishing was so good. But great.
You just playing with Jay, like you played against him back in the day, and then you both played together at Livingston. I know. That's fucking weird when you think about it.
I know. If you had said at the time, like in 5 years, you'll be preparing for Livingston.
You were like, fuck off.
Yeah. It's weird how it happened.
Final one, I promise. Did you ever meet Anthony Stokes?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he was at the club for a couple of weeks. I'd say he turned up maybe once or twice.
Oh my God.
great lad. When the few times we did see him, he had some stories to tell you. But yeah, I don't think that was ever going to work, him and Davey, really.
So that's us for another week. Thank you very much for listening again. We honestly really appreciate it. And for anyone who's bought a mug, thank you so much. We actually have a couple left if anybody still wants one, so please get in touch if you do. Another big thanks to Jon Guthrie. We bloody love you and we bloody miss you. Remember, we are on all your favourite socials like Bebo, MySpace and Habbo Hotel, and you can listen to our old episodes with the likes of Fernandez, Derek Lilly and Oscar Rubio on Spotify, Anchor and YouTube. Things can only get better, my lovely Livy Lions. All the best, Forza Livy, and see you next week.